Hi, welcome to Gemini Star Spiritual Wellness. Thank you for joining me today. Hope you're doing well and having a great day. I'm excited to be with you today. Thank you for joining my video. I'm excited that you're here. And as always, please like and subscribe the video. If you hit the like button, it will send it out to other people who need to hear this information. And if you hit subscribe, then you will see more videos that I put out. They'll come out to you. So the next video I'm going to do after this one will be our mid-month tarot reading, which it's hard to believe. I have to do the mid-month tarot reading coming up. So that'll be coming up on the 13th of June. So I would like to get it out right before the 15th hits. So I like to get it out a day or two early so you have time to look at it. So that's the next video coming up. But today's video is going to be Introduction to Chakras Part 2. So I'm doing a chakra series to kind of get more information out there. And as more people spiritually awaken throughout the planet, and there'll be a lot of awakenings going on this year, next year, and such. So I wanted to get this information out there for people who don't know anything about chakras, never heard of it, but don't know anything about it. It's good information, and it's really interesting. I mean, as I dove into this information, it just fascinated me because, we're not taught any of this in school about our, energetic bodies. So it's really fascinating of how intricate it is and how intertwined it is with our physical body. And it's just really fascinating. So I wanted to get this information out. So after this video, the part 2, I'm going to start focusing on each individual of the 7 chakras that are associated with our physical body. And we're going to kind of deep dive into each one. And that will all be under the playlist of chakra information series. So that will all be under there. So let's get started. So on the first video, part 1, I talked the basics about chakras, but I didn't get into like blockages, nadis, and meridians and things like that. I just didn't want the video to go too long. So I had to break it in half because it was just so much information. So I had to split it. So if you didn't see that video, I would suggest you go back and watch part 1 because I'm going to kind of pick up where I left off in my notes from part 1. So just a reminder, I'm talking about the chakras that are associated with our body. So we've got 7 of them. And they start from the base of our spine and go up to our crown, up to here. We're right above here. But we also have chakras below our feet that connect us to the earth. And we have some above our heads that connect us to the universe. But those aren't the ones I'll be focusing on in the series. But there are more chakras beyond the 7 that are part of our body. And then we also have like mini chakras, and the bottom is our feet, the soles of our feet, and in the palms of our hands. So there's a lot of chakras, like 360 chakras in our body. But I'm just going to be focusing on the 7 main ones that we have. So the chakras are all connected to each other, and they follow the spine. They're all connected to each other through nadis. Now, the ancient Indians call them nadis, so they're like electrical energy pathways. But the Chinese call them meridians, but it's the same. They call them something different, but it's the same thing. So that's where like acupuncture comes from, is they're tapping into the energetic pathways that go through our body with the needles. But that's where that information comes from, and that practice comes from, is they're tapping into your energetic body. So they're connected. The chakras are connected through, but I'm going to focus on, I'll be calling it nadis in this video, through nadis. And there are up to 72,000 nadis in our body, and they run parallel to our nervous system. And that's a lot of nadis. 72,000, that's a lot. So that's quite fascinating that there's so many. And so that, like I said, it runs a parallel to our nervous system, and our chakras are our connection to the energetic realms while we're in this physical state. Because just a reminder, our physical body we created with our consciousness. So we created our own body, and we're in a physical body to have the experience of being in a physical 3D realm or state, and having that experience. So that's why we're here. But we have that. Our consciousness is kind of like, think of your body as a vessel, and your consciousness is within your vessel. But the divine, when we set up our bodies, the divine gave us a way to stay in contact with the energetic realms, and that's through these chakras and the nadis. So they're energetic. So think of the nadi like they're energetic streams or pathways that intersect with each other, and they kind of form highways throughout our body, following, parallel to the nervous system. And they go to our endocrine gland and other major organs. So and you'll see when I deep dive into the individual chakras, they're associated with, each organ in our body, different organs, but they're all connected that way. And 72,000, that's a lot of them, highways, and it's all throughout our body. They follow the spinal column, and there's different streams. So they follow the spinal column, but there's different streams called Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. And the force of the energy going through them is called Kundalini. So if you hear about Kundalini rising, a lot of people talk about the Kundalini. That's what they're talking about, is that force of energy coming up, rising through, up your spine. And when you have a spiritual awakening, that Kundalini gets activated and it starts to rise. And goes up. So the Ida is on the left side, which I'm facing the camera, so this is my left, but your left would be the other side. But the Ida is on the left, is the left channel. And it's controlled by the right side of your brain, which is interesting. So left side, Ida, right side of the brain. And it's our feminine energy. And it represents the moon. It's connected to the moon. So the feminine energy can seem kind of cold, but cold, it's like cool energy, but not cold like mean, but just cool energy. It's kind of white, cold, and connected to the moon. And it's associated with the river Ganga in the ancient Indian tradition. And it ends up on the left nostril. So so you can mess with your, I'll say mess with your energy fields, mess with your streams with your nostrils, but that's the cooling nostril. So there are breathing techniques that you can do that work with that, with your nostrils, right nostril, left nostril, and it's tapping into those energy streams. Which is, and it does work. I've tried the nostril techniques, breathing techniques, and it really does work. So maybe in the future I'll do a video on that, because it is really neat and fascinating. I mean, this is just fascinating information. It's like a shame it took me decades to figure this stuff out, and that's why I wanted to do these videos, is to let you know, so that you learn faster than I did. So that's the information about, let's see, I don't want to lose my notes here. That's the information about the Ida. So like reminder, left channel, connected to the right side of the brain, feminine energy, white, cold, and represents the moon. So the Pingala is the other channels, the right channel. So Ida is left channel, Pingala is the right. Pingala, I hope I'm saying that right, is the right channel. And it's associated with masculine energy. And the color red, and it's hot and represents the sun. So, they always say the feminine energy is the moon, the sun energy is the masculine energy, which is interesting because, we have both masculine and feminine energy within us. So that's really interesting. And it's actually like in our energy streams, with the Ida and Pingala. And that one's associated with the river Unama. I hope I'm saying that right. Probably not. And it ends up in the right nostril. So it ends up on this side. So like I said, you can do the breathing techniques with the nostrils. And that will tap into those energy streams, those energy channels. The Sushumna is the central channel. So that's the one that's like between the two of them. And it runs up the body from the base of the spine at the root chakra all the way to the crown chakra at the top of your head. And, all living things have chakras. Even trees and plants, animals, everything that has consciousness has, a type of chakra. I'm not sure about, like, crystals have consciousness too, and so do the elements, water and fire, but I'm not sure if they were just one big chakra. I'm not sure what their chakras are like. I just thought of that, but they do have, they do have chakras as well. I mean, they have consciousness, so they probably have a chakra since they have that energy. And speaking of which, we can use our chakra to connect with nature, right? And other people, right? Our energy, we connect with other people's energy all the time. and with our energy fields between us, even though you're not consciously aware we're doing it, it happens when you're interacting with people. So one of the things is when the nadis, they get together, you know, because there's a whole bunch of them, and they form. I'm trying to find my notes here. So we've got a lot of them, and they form, and they become. I can't find my notes on the word because I know I'm going to say it wrong. Oh, okay. The nadis intersect with each other at the chakras, and when they intersect at the chakras, they're called Gangala. I was afraid I couldn't remember that word, Gangala. So they intersect at our chakras at Gangala. Some of these words are difficult to say. So what happens with blocked chakras? Because that's definitely a problem that people aren't aware of. So if chakras are blocked, they can have a very negative effect on your spiritual health, but also your physical health and mental health. They can have a negative effect on all three. So a lot of times, if you have blocked chakras, you might not know it that you're blocked, and then you're having trouble in those areas, and you might not know what it is, and it's a blocked chakra. That's why I wish that they taught this more. Like it was more common knowledge in medicine, and just, you know, we're taught this information at a young age so that we could be aware of our chakras and how to keep them healthy. So blocked chakras can cause spiritual, emotional, and physical problems, and they can build up negative energy if they're blocked in residue. And it's kind of like, think of it like if you don't get your oil changed in your car, it starts to gunk up, and it's making it harder and harder for the car to perform to the point where it just stops. And that's kind of the same with your chakras. If you have all this negative energy residue that's building up and blocking it from spinning properly, then it's going to cause problems, right? It'll cause the chakra to break down. If it stops working, it will cause problems to our immune systems, and our immune system can break down from it, and then we can become sick. So that's why a lot of times, you know, when they talk about stress has a negative effect on your body and can make you ill and bring in chronic illness, well, that's part of it. Is, you know, your chakras get blocked, and it's blocking that energy flow, and your nadis aren't flowing correctly, and your highways aren't moving good with the energy inside your body. It will manifest itself in the physical as physical illness. So that makes sense, because a lot of, you know, illnesses can be caused by stress, which could be from blocked chakras, you know. Very interesting. And it can have a negative impact on our cells as well, because our cells have a limited time that they live, and then they have a limited time they can replicate themselves, is what I mean. So it can have a negative effect on ourselves by negatively impacting how they can replicate themselves and copy themselves. So basically, when you're filling your body full of toxins through food or water, and then stressed and blocked energy, it can deplete our cell reserves, because they're not able to replicate and copy themselves like they need to be healthy and strong. By refreshing our energy field, we can govern how long and healthy we will be. So by keeping our chakras healthy and flowing well, that will have an impact in our energy field, and keeping that healthy. And refreshing it will help definitely with, you know, govern how long and healthy that we will be, okay, in our physical body. Usually the three lower chakras are connected with the physical world, and they deal more with physical attributes of being in the third dimension, and they produce the most negative energy. And there's some reasons for that, but they create the most negative energy in our body, and it's because it's connected more to our physical body, you know. But that's usually where a lot of the negative energy will come from, is those first three chakras. And then the dysfunction of the chakras and energy system can change how our body works too. So if you have that energy not flowing correctly, or it's backed up, it can change the pathological flow of our body and how our body is supposed to work, and it can cause issues there as well. So what do you do when your chakras are blocked. Like, how do you unblock them? We're going to talk about that. So, chakras spin counterclockwise when you're healthy, and then they don't spin well when it's blocked. They won't spin well. And you can use a crystal pendulum to like if to locate your chakras. And this does work because I've used this on people, family members and myself and other people, and it does work with the crystal pendulum. So you take a crystal pendulum and you hold it over where the chakra is supposed to be with your non-dominant hand, and then it basically, it'll spin. And if it's spinning well, then it will, it's doing good. If it's not spinning, then you have a problem. But that's how you can tell whether or not you need to cleanse your chakras or not, by using the crystal pendulum to locate and clear chakras. So when it spins counterclockwise, so say you're holding it over, you're holding a pendulum over the chakra area. If it's spinning counterclockwise, it's the energy is recalibrating. It's like cleansing itself and recalibrating. And then it will start to, like what I've seen it do is it'll spin, like kind of, keep spinning counterclockwise, and then eventually it stops. And that means it's finished cleansing. And it's so fascinating how this stuff works. It's just amazing that those, the crystals can pick that up and be able to do that. So yeah, if it's spinning clockwise, it's spinning nice and healthy, that's good. But if it's not spinning, or it's spinning not well, then it probably is blocked and needs to be cleansed. So our body energy has connections that cross. So it's kind of like, the left, like I was talking about, the left ida is connected to the one part of the brain on the other side. And then is controlled with the right side of the brain, and the pingala is controlled with the left side of the brain. So our body kind of crosses. It's crosses to right hand, left leg, and left hand, right leg. I hope that makes sense, but it crosses. And also, if you're, and this is careful, if you're putting more energy out than you're bringing in, which I think happens a lot for people that, especially for women, because we've been, basically like we're nurturers, servers, right? We always want to help people. But if you have that kind of attitude, men or women, where you're just, you're helping people all the time, but you have to be careful. And that's why they talk about fill your own cup. Don't forget to fill your own cup and take care of yourself while you're helping others. Because if you put out way too much energy, then you're taking in, you can get ill from it because you're off balance. It can cause, feeling drained or overwhelmed or getting ill. So it kind of makes me think about caretakers. I think I've heard this happens a lot with people who are caretaking somebody who's, sick or needy. They get drained because they're putting out more energy than they're bringing in, than they're taking care of. And a lot of times, like when they're done caretaking, it comes out and they get sick themselves because they haven't been taking care of their energy. They've been putting out more than they're bringing in. I think also the lines of the meridians that run, the nadis and the meridians that run throughout your body, they are underneath the surface of your skin, and they connect like with our acupuncture. Having a hard time talking. It's not even Mercury retrograde. It's like it's underneath the skin, the surface of the skin, these meridians, these highways. And it's like at different acupuncture points. That's why when you go and get acupuncture done, they put it different, because that's where the points are, the energy points. So quite fascinating. And let's see. So we talked about how important it is not to unblock our chakras. And like I say, you can use that crystal pendulum as a way to figure out how to unblock them. And also there's like ways, like through meditation, you can help unblock your chakras. I like to get Reiki healing done on a regular basis, every couple months usually. And then I feel, sometimes they help me with that when I'm there. Because, you can do your own chakras, There is a way you can do it with the crystal pendulum, but I feel like it's easier to have somebody else do it on myself than for me to do it. But I try, like if I feel like I'm kind of blocked, then I could do it myself. But it's easier, if someone else does it. At least that's the way it is for me. That's how I feel. But that really does work with the crystal pendulum. So I would, if you're having chakra issues or you're just curious, you could try that. But you definitely want to have the intention, positive intention when you're doing it. Make sure your crystal pendulum is cleansed before you use it. And like I said, hold it non-dominant, and it'll spin, and you'll see it. It'll just start to spin by itself. If it's spinning, clockwise and it's spinning, then you're good. And that chakra's not blocked. But if it's not really spinning, you have a problem. And then it'll like spin reverse to kind of cleanse that chakra. And you just ask the crystal to cleanse it. Like first you ask it to test your chakra, and then you would ask the crystal to cleanse it. And it will. It's really, and I've seen it happen over and over again. It's really fascinating. But let's talk a little bit about, so we talked about the first three chakras. The lower three are the ones that are connected with the physical body, and they're more likely the ones to have the negative energy stuck in them and gunked up with negative energy. And part of that is because of the way our chakras develop. So our chakras develop on a 7-year schedule. So from like birth to age 7, it's your root chakra. So your root chakra is just basically about survival. And as you think about it, as an infant, you're dependent on somebody for everything, to take care of you, provide, food and water and all that. So then when you hit 7 to 14, then it's the sacral chakra that is developing, and getting fully developed. So you don't, so think about it. So 7 times 7, you don't get to the top with your crown chakra being fully developed till you're in your late 40s. So it takes years to develop these chakras as you grow in the physical world. So young children and babies, they don't have a way to get rid of that negative energy. So if they're being abused or mistreated, or their needs aren't being met properly, then that could definitely gunk up their energetic chakras because they have no way to release it. And their chakras haven't developed yet. So if they're exposed to like rage, trauma, violence, anything like that, and it will interfere with the development of the chakras, of those chakras, and it will interfere with them from working properly. So you think about if a child has trauma and they go through a lot of negative trauma, like young kids, 2, 3, 4 years old, that chakra hasn't fully developed, the root chakra. So it is going to have an impact on the development. It can't develop properly because it's dealing with this trauma, and it's going to come out. And it probably will affect it could affect how the other chakras develop as well later on. So it can definitely cause chakra problems. And this is part of like why, children are so, they're so special and need to be protected, is because, they're not fully developed in their chakra system. So, if they're going through that at a young age, it's definitely going to have a negative impact on them because they, like I said, they can't release that negative energy out of their system, and it'll gunk them up as far as their chakras, which is really sad. So we definitely need to protect children as much as we can, and to keep them from being, experiencing that type of abuse and trauma and things like that. So that is what I have for the part 2 of introduction of chakras. So I hope that answered questions about blockages, why it's important not to have them, and what having them can do. And I hope that answered questions about the nadis and meridians and the highways and how all that is ties together. But I would suggest, and it's really fascinating, if you're more interested, I would suggest to look up this information, because when you start looking at getting deep into it, it's quite fascinating how these pathways work all through our body and how it's all interconnected. I mean, it's so intricate. It's just amazing. And it really, like doing the research into this and learning this really, I don't know, it's like I keep getting amazed over and over how the divine created everything. Like just all the details into it, and how everything's so intricate and it works so well together. That just blows my mind, that how well thought up this is, and how, that we have that connection with the energetic realms thanks to these chakras. And it's a good thing we have them, to help connect us to those energetic realms, but just the thought that went into having all this, so that we had that connection when we come to 3D Earth, and we have it all through our body, and how it's tied into our organs and our age and everything. It's just fascinating. So I would suggest, if you're still fascinated by it, to do some research on your own. It's really quite intriguing when you start getting into the deep of it. So I will be starting off with the root chakra. That will be the first deep dive that I do, as far as individual chakras, and we'll talk more about that, just that specific chakra, moving on into the series. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.